Hi, I'm Rebecca, and this video tutorial is the first in a series of 2 on how to prepare Illustrator vector artwork to be printed on transparent materials such as window vinyls or food packaging, where a spot colour white is required to print out, and any coloured graphics that will print on top of the white will overprint and not knock out. Plus, we're going to create a cutter guide for that artwork. So the first step is to prepare your artwork carefully, and if I show you this artwork using the view menu outline command, you'll notice that some of it is paths and some of it is shapes. We need it all to be shapes. So I'm going to select the coat hanger artwork that happens to be black 26 point stroke, and I'm going to convert that into shapes. And to do that, let's just zoom up a bit, I'm going to use a command in the object menu that's really handy. So object menu path, outline stroke, and that creates shapes out of that stroke set to that weight. Now that's my artwork ready for the next stage. So using the layers panel, I'm going to duplicate that artwork layer by dragging it over the page icon at the bottom right of the layers panel. I'm just going to hide my artwork layer for a minute and rename the artwork copy cutter guide so I can keep track of what layer I'm working on. And on the cutter guide layer, I'm going to grab all the artwork in there, and I'm just going to change its colour all to magenta. I'm going to change the fill colour to magenta. And it's useful changing the fill colour ready for the next stage, really. So the next stage is to expand this out so it's not cutting directly on the coloured graphic. We want it to sort of be a few millimetres away from the edge. And what we want to achieve is a single outline around this artwork, really, because that's going to be a much easier vinyl to stick on a window and to take off a window. So again, we're going to use a really useful command from the object menu. Before I do that, I'm just going to show you that back in outline view so you can really keep track of what's going on here. So using the object menu path command, this time we're going to choose offset path and click the preview button on in that offset path panel so that you can see the effect your different offset value is having on that path. So I think if I set this particular artwork at 8mm, that's going to give me a nice clean border around there with only a few holes in. So I'm going to click OK and zoom out. So here I have that shape, but there's still a bit of it that needs joining up. So I'm going to use a really useful command here to join this artwork up into one shape, so all these overlapping bits become one path. I'll just show you in outline mode what actually happened. So it took that existing path and it's offset it by 8mm all round. So it's left that other path there as well. So we need to clean it up a little bit. If I just select everything on that layer, I'm going to use a function that's really handy that you'll find in Pathfinders. So if you can't find your Pathfinder panel from your panel set, go into your window menu, Pathfinder command, and up will pop the Pathfinder panel. If you're in Illustrator 2019 or later, you'll be able to just use that from the properties panel in the Pathfinder section under more options. But we're going to use the Pathfinder panel for anybody who's on an older version of Illustrator. And the third button in from the left at the bottom of the Pathfinder panel is the merge button. And when I click on that, it gives us a nice clean path around the edge. And you can see there's my path. Just show you that in preview mode. So I'll click off. I'll just see what happens when I select that path and I cut it, see if there's any leftover artwork anywhere. No, So I'll just undo that cut. So this is my cutter guide. At the minute it's doing strange things in that we know it's all a single colour and it's all a single path, but it's not telling me that. It's telling me it thinks there's more than one colour. So sometimes it's worthwhile just ungrouping it. I'm just going to use object ungroup, and then when I click off and click on, I can see that path is just a pink compound path where the holes are see-through and the pink shapes are joined together. But actually, as this is my cutter guide layer, I need to swap the fill colour with the stroke colour. I'm just going to use the swap curly arrow in my tool panel, and so I've now got a cutter guide that's perfect for a plotter to chop that out into very few shapes. I've got a little tiny gap there, but I'm not too bothered about that. So we have got a single path all around the edge of that with some holes in the middle. And that cutter guide extends 8mm out from the edge of our coloured artwork. So there will be a white line around that artwork. The next stage is to use that cutter guide to create the white printed layer. So I'm going to duplicate the cutter guide layer by dragging it over to the page icon in the layers panel, and I'm going to drag that underneath my artwork because that needs to sit underneath the colours, and I'm going to change the cutter guide copy layer name to spot white. And I'll lock the other layers so that I don't accidentally pick those up, and I'm going to select everything in that layer. I'll use the target circle in my layers panel to do that, and again I'm getting some weird sort of mixed values. It hasn't got a fill, but it's got kind of mixed strokes, so I might just click off and click back on that again. Don't know why it does that, but here you can see that's back to a magenta stroke. Don't want that stroke around there. I'm going to turn it off by bringing it to the front and hitting none. You can do it from your control bar up here if you want. What I do need to do is assign this a fill colour. I'll show you that fill colour in a different colour now. I'm just going to assign it an orange colour. Just turn the visibility of the others off. So this will become my spot colour white, but just for the sake of the video, so you can see what's happening, I'm going to keep it orange. Now this needs to extend 3mm beyond the cutter guide. So using that same function we used for the cutter guide, we'll go into the object menu, path, offset path, and you would put in the value that your print service provider says you need to assign for the bleed. So generally 3mm is a pretty industry standard bleed amount. So if I OK that again, you can see that that's now extending beyond the bleed. But if I turn the cutter layer off, we've got too many paths again. So it's probably not a bad idea just to select everything on that spot white layer and just merge it all together again. So we've got another clean path. And because of what merging does, it's probably not a bad idea to just go into your object menu and just ungroup that so that when you click on that shape, you can actually see its colour. As you know, I don't want this in orange, I want it in white. So the next step is to assign it white. Trouble is, this white won't print because it's not set to print by default. So we've got to modify that white swatch. I'm going to double click on that white swatch in my swatches panel to bring up the swatch options palette, and I need to change the colour type from process colour to spot colour, and I'll name that spot white and OK that. And you'll notice that in my swatches panel it's now got a little tiny white corner with a black dot in it, and that indicates that it's a spot colour. So in my layers panel I now have a spot white layer. That's the path for that. I have my artwork. It's the path for that. You can see that in normal mode. And I have my cutter guide. So that actually shows my artwork, my cutter guide, and my white ink spreading another 3mm beyond that. That's ready for the next stage. End of video 1. You're ready to move on to video 2. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.